For more analysis, we bring in Channa Lloyd, civil rights attorney with the Cochran firm in Florida. Thanks for coming back on, Ms. Lloyd. We heard that testimony today from Dr. David Fowler, who said that Floyd's cause of death could be classified as undetermined instead of as a homicide. How convincing would you say that those arguments were? And do you think that this battle of the experts over cause of death will serve to confuse the jury or be enough just to plant the seed of reasonable doubt?
Well, let's start with his testimony. I think some of his testimony they were definitely backtracking him on. For instance, the carbon monoxide that he brought up. They then got him to admit that he wasn't even sure whether the car was on, whether it was a hybrid. Those are big things to overlook as an expert when you're trying to determine these types of causes of death. He also admitted that Floyd could have received medical attention even after cardiac arrest, and that could have saved his life. So although his testimony may have been stronger for the defense overall, the state was able to make some serious inroads in his testimony for their side. When the jurors are looking at these expert witnesses, they line them up. They think about the one that they heard, they think about what this one is saying, and they bring common sense into it. So when they hear things that are able to be disputed or someone's able to backtrack him on as an expert, that talks and leads towards the lack of credibility in their mind.
And Dr. Fowler really muddied the waters a bit more by suggesting that the carbon monoxide, as you mentioned, from the squad's car's tailpipe may have contributed to George Floyd's death. Even if that is true, wouldn't that also be Derek Chauvin's fault, or could it help his defense in a meaningful way?
It could help his defense in a meaningful way in the sense that what the state is arguing is his positioning, and with the knee on the neck, that was the actual causation of the death. So what that essentially means is no matter what else happened, this had to actually be the biggest contributing factor to that death. This action needed to have led directly to the death. So that's where the reasonable doubt comes in. And these other theories, should a juror decide that it's a credible theory, they could say that is where I find reasonable doubt.
But when you talk about this idea of the causation, right, that the prosecution needs to prove in this case, they don't have to say that the knee on the neck was the sole reason that he died, correct?
Absolutely. Very right about that, Lindsay. It doesn't have to be the sole, but it does have to be the direct link as to the death. So he may have had other things, but for the knee, he would have survived. Then what we're looking at is and should be a guilty verdict according to the law.
As we near the end of this trial, which side would you say seems to have the stronger case, and do you think that it'll be tough for the jury to reach a verdict?
I think right now the prosecution had laid such a solid foundation and the ability to make these inroads in the testimony of the defense experts, weakening their testimony. I think right now the prosecution does have the stronger case. I think the jury is going to be, it's always interesting. They go in there, they deliberate. You don't know how long they'll be in there. And it only takes one, Lindsay. That's what we have to keep remembering, is that one person is all it takes to ensure that this jury doesn't reach a verdict. Because in Minnesota, it does require a unanimous verdict.
And lastly, what potential impact could this latest shooting of Dante Wright have on the jury and verdict and possible appeal?
There's going to be a lot of impact, I think, as these jurors are hearing this, they're knowing what's going on. It's still going to affect them. Now, the judge is going to instruct them, as they will get these instructions at the end, that nothing outside of what they've heard in the courtroom dealing with this case is supposed to affect their deliberations. But we all know that, with life happening, people are aware. So I think at some point there is a bit of an emotional impact that does happen for jurors.
Attorney Channa Lloyd, thank you so much for your time.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.